Welcome, everyone. I'm glad you're here today. In this presentation, we'll be diving into Windows Server hardening, focusing on commands and GPO paths. This is a crucial topic for strengthening your server security. Over the next few slides, we'll explore key techniques and best practices to help you secure your Windows environments effectively. Let's get started. Now, let's talk about why reducing the attack surface is so important. By minimizing the number of features and roles on your server, you limit the potential entry points for attackers. One way to do this is by using PowerShell commands. For example, you can run get Windows feature and filter the results to see which features are installed. Once you've identified unnecessary features, you can uninstall them with the remove Windows feature command, replacing feature name with the specific role or feature you want to remove. Additionally, it's a good practice to disable roles and features that are not in use. Disabling rather than uninstalling can be a quick way to reduce risk without making permanent changes. This approach helps keep your server lean and more secure, aligning with our overall goal of creating a more resilient and less vulnerable environment. Why is it so important to keep systems patched? Well, unpatched systems are prime targets for exploitation. Attackers often scan for vulnerabilities that haven't been addressed through updates, and once they find one, they can gain access or cause damage. That's why managing Windows update settings effectively is crucial. In Group Policy, you can navigate through Computer Configuration, then Policies, Administrative Templates, Windows Components, and finally Windows Update. This allows us to set policies that ensure systems stay current automatically. You can also use commands like uso client start scan to manually trigger a scan for updates. This helps in situations where you need to verify whether the latest security patches are available or have been installed. Applying the latest security updates is essential because it closes known vulnerabilities, making it much harder for malicious actors to exploit your systems. Ultimately, keeping systems up to date is a fundamental part of your overall security posture. It's about proactively reducing risk and maintaining the integrity of your environment. Let's talk about why admin accounts are such high-value targets. Because these accounts have elevated privileges, they can access and control almost everything in the system, making them prime targets for attackers. That's why it's crucial to secure them properly. One effective way to do this is through Group Policy, or GPO. You can find this setting under Computer Configuration, then Policies, followed by Windows Settings, Security Settings, and finally Restricted Groups. This allows you to manage who has administrative access centrally and securely. Additionally, a simple but powerful command can disable the default administrator account, which is often targeted. By running Net User Administrator active, you deactivate that account, reducing the risk of unauthorized access. The key takeaway here is to actively secure your administrator accounts. By limiting access, disabling default accounts, and applying proper policies, you significantly strengthen your overall security posture. Remember, protecting these high-value accounts is a critical step in defending your entire environment. Let's talk about why SMBv1 and NTLM are considered insecure today. These protocols, while once standard, now present significant security vulnerabilities that can be exploited by attackers. That's why it's crucial to disable them to protect our systems. To do this, we can use Group Policy settings, navigate through Computer Configuration, then Administrative Templates, followed by Network, and finally Landman Workstation. This path allows us to manage network-related features effectively. Alternatively, if you prefer a command line approach, you can run the command Disable Windows Optional Feature Online Feature Name SMB1 protocol. This disables the SMBv1 protocol directly on the system. It's also important to disable legacy protocols altogether, as they pose ongoing security risks. Doing so helps ensure that only secure, modern protocols are in use across your network. By disabling SMBv1 and NTLM, we significantly reduce the attack surface of our environment, aligning with best practices for security and risk mitigation. Let's talk about why this is important. Limiting lateral movement is a critical aspect of network security. By restricting how far an attacker can move within your environment, you reduce the risk of widespread damage. To do this effectively, we use Group Policy Objects, or GPOs, which are found under Computer Configuration, then Policies, followed by Windows Settings, and finally Windows Defender Firewall. This structured approach helps ensure consistent application across all machines. One of the key tools here is the command NewNet Firewall rule. This command allows us to create specific firewall rules that control inbound and outbound traffic, effectively limiting lateral movement. When configuring Windows Firewall through this method, we're setting precise rules that restrict unnecessary network communications, blocking potential attack vectors before they can be exploited. Overall, implementing these rules helps us strengthen our network defenses and maintain better control over internal traffic, aligning with our broader security strategy. Why is this important? Well, RDP, or Remote Desktop Protocol, is heavily targeted by attackers because it's a common entry point for unauthorized access. That's why we need to be extra cautious and take steps to secure it properly. Now, to manage RDP settings, we can use Group Policy. You would navigate through Computer Configuration, then Administrative Templates, followed by Windows Components, and finally Remote Desktop Services. This is where you can configure policies to control how RDP functions on your machines. Alternatively, if you're comfortable with command line, there's a straightforward command you can run: set item property. This command modifies the registry setting at HKLM, /system/CCS/control/terminal server, specifically the fdeny/ts connections value. Setting this to 0 enables RDP connections, but remember, for security, you might want to set it to 1 to disable remote connections unless needed. The key takeaway here is that hardening RDP access is crucial. By properly configuring these settings, you reduce the attack surface and help safeguard your systems from potential breaches. This aligns with our overall goal of strengthening security across our network infrastructure. Now, let's talk about why excessive admin rights pose a significant risk. When users have more permissions than they actually need, it opens the door to potential security breaches. For example, you can run a simple command like get local group member administrators to see who has admin rights on a system. This helps us identify any unnecessary privileges. Additionally, implementing Group Policy Objects, or GPOs, such as restricted groups, allows us to define exactly who should be part of those privileged groups, making permissions more controlled and predictable. It's also crucial to audit local administrators regularly. By doing so, we can detect any unauthorized changes or additions to the admin group. All of these steps are about reducing risk by maintaining a clear and controlled view of who has admin rights, which ties directly into our overall goal of strengthening security through better privilege management. So let's talk about why this is important. First, we need to ensure that security logging is enabled because it's required for investigations. When a security incident occurs, having detailed logs helps us understand what happened and how to respond effectively. Now, to manage this, we use the Group Policy Object, or GPO, specifically the Advanced Audit Policy configuration. This allows us to set granular audit policies that can monitor various activities across the system. To check our current audit settings, we use the command auditpol get**. This command gives us a comprehensive view of all the audit categories and their configurations. And finally, enabling security logging is critical. It ensures that all relevant security events are recorded, giving us the visibility needed to detect, investigate, and respond to security issues promptly. Remember, thorough logging is a cornerstone of a strong security posture. Now, let's talk about why this is important. PowerShell is often used in fileless attacks because it allows attackers to run malicious scripts directly in memory, leaving little trace on the disk. This makes it a powerful tool for cybercriminals to evade traditional detection methods. To help mitigate this risk, one effective approach is to restrict PowerShell usage through group policy. Specifically, we can navigate to the Administrative Templates section and select Windows PowerShell. Here, we can set a command called Set Execution Policy All Signed. This policy requires that all scripts must be signed by a trusted publisher before they can run. By enforcing this, we significantly reduce the chances of malicious scripts executing without proper authorization. Implementing such restrictions is a key part of a broader strategy to defend against fileless attacks. It helps ensure that only trusted code runs on our systems, making it more difficult for attackers to succeed using PowerShell as a weapon. Let's talk about why overpermissive ACLs, or access control lists, can really expose your data to unnecessary risks. When permissions are too loose, it becomes easier for unauthorized users to access sensitive information, which can lead to data breaches or leaks. To check and manage these permissions, you can use the command icackles_path, which allows you to view and modify ACLs on files and folders. Now, the best practice here is to follow the principle of least privilege. That means giving users only the access they need to do their job, and nothing more. This approach minimizes potential attack surfaces and helps keep your data secure. To reinforce this, you should harden your file permissions regularly. By tightening these permissions, you reduce the risk of accidental or malicious data exposure. Remember, controlling permissions is a fundamental part of securing your environment and supporting overall cybersecurity efforts. Why is it important to disable unused services? Well, by doing so, we significantly reduce the attack surface of our systems. The fewer services running, the fewer opportunities there are for potential attackers to exploit vulnerabilities. Now, to identify which services are currently active, we can use a simple command: get service where status ec running. This helps us see all the services that are actively running on the machine. Once we identify the unnecessary or unused services, we can disable them by setting their startup type to disabled. The command for that is set service name, startup type disabled. The key here is to disable services that aren't needed for your specific environment or workload. This is a proactive step in tightening security and ensuring that only essential services are accessible and running. Remember, this approach aligns perfectly with our overall goal of building a more secure and resilient system by minimizing potential entry points for malicious actors. Why is this important? Well, it helps prevent brute force attacks, which are attempts by attackers to gain access by trying many different password combinations rapidly. By setting up an account lockout policy, we can temporarily lock an account after a certain number of failed login attempts, making it much harder for someone to crack the password through brute force methods. The Group Policy Object, or GPO, responsible for this is called the Account Lockout Policy. It allows us to configure how many failed attempts trigger a lockout, how long the lockout lasts, and other related settings. To check or set these policies, we can use the command net accounts. This command provides a quick way to view current account settings and enforce security policies across our network. Overall, implementing account lockout policies is a crucial step in strengthening our security posture. It directly ties into our goal of protecting sensitive information by making unauthorized access much more difficult. So, why do we use this command? Well, primarily for persistence. It allows us to check and manage scheduled tasks that are set to run automatically, even after reboots or system restarts. The command we use is getScheduledTask, which helps us retrieve those tasks from the Task Scheduler library. This library is essentially the central location where all scheduled tasks are stored and managed. Now, when we talk about secure scheduled tasks, we're focusing on tasks that are configured with security considerations in mind. These are tasks that often require higher privileges or are critical for system operation. Understanding how to view and manage these tasks is vital for maintaining system integrity and security. By mastering this, We ensure that our automation processes are reliable and protected from unauthorized modifications. And that ties back to our overall theme of maintaining a secure and efficient system environment. Recovery is a crucial part of security because no matter how robust your defenses are, things can still go wrong. That's why having a solid backup and recovery plan is essential. For example, you can use the command wbadmin get versions to see all the available restore points on your system. This helps you quickly identify which backup to use if you need to recover data. Another key point is practicing offline backups. This means regularly creating backups that are stored separately from your main systems, ideally offline or in a secure location. It adds an extra layer of protection against threats like ransomware or hardware failures. Ultimately, backup and recovery are about ensuring you can restore your systems efficiently and confidently when needed. It's all about making sure that recovery is part of your overall security strategy, so you're prepared for any unexpected incident. Why is this important? Well, security can drift over time if we don't regularly check and update our settings. That's why it's crucial to understand that what was secure yesterday might not be secure today. One way to verify our current security posture is by running the command gresult report, HTML, which generates a comprehensive report of our group policy settings. This helps us identify any unintended changes or gaps. To keep our security strong, we should also practice quarterly audits, regular reviews that ensure everything remains aligned with our security policies. And beyond that, a continuous review process is key. Security isn't a one-time task, it's an ongoing effort. By staying vigilant and proactive, we can catch issues early and maintain a robust security posture over time.